Section 3 of Sun, Moon, and Stars, Astronomy for Beginners. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Sun, Moon, and Stars, Astronomy for Beginners, by Agnes Giberne. What binds the family together? Dost thou know the wondrous works of him which is perfect in knowledge? Job 37:16. The day is thine, the night is also thine. Thou hast prepared the light and the suns. Thou hast made summer and winter. Psalms 74:16 and 17. What is it which binds together all the members of the solar system? What? Why should not the sun at any moment rush away in one direction, the earth in a second, the planets in half a dozen others? What is there to hinder such a catastrophe? Nothing, except that they are all held together by a certain close family tie, or more correctly, by the powerful influence of the head of the family. This mysterious power which the sun has, and which all the planets have also in their smaller degrees, is called attraction. Sometimes it is named gravitation or gravity. When we speak, as we often do, of the law of attraction or gravitation, we mean simply this: that throughout the universe, in things little and great, is found a certain wonderful something in constant action which we call a law. What the something may be, man cannot tell, for he knows it only by its effects. But these effects are seen everywhere, on all sides, in the earth and in the universe. It is well named in being called a law, for we are compelled to obey it. None but the divine lawgiver who made this law could for a single moment interrupt its working. What causes an apple to fall to the ground when it drops from the branch? Why should it not instead rise upwards? Because, of course, it is heavy or has weight. But what is weight? Simply this, that the earth draws or drags everything downward towards herself by the power of attraction. Every substance, great or small, light or heavy, is made up of tiny atoms. Each one of these atoms attracts or draws all the other atoms towards itself, and the closer they are together, the more strongly they pull one another. The atoms in a piece of iron are much closer than the atoms in a piece of wood. Therefore the iron is called the more dense of the two, and its weight or mass is greater. The more closely the atoms are pressed together, the greater the number of them in a small space, and the more strong the drawing towards the earth, for the earth draws each one of these atoms equally. That is only another way of saying that a thing is heavier. If you drop a stone from the top of a cliff, will it rise upwards or float in the air? No, indeed. The pull of the earth's attraction, dragging and still dragging downward, makes it rush through the air with speed quickening each instant till it strikes the ground. Every single atom, every single body pulls every other atom, whether far or near. The nearer it is, the stronger always the pulling. We do not always feel this because the very much greater attraction of the earth hides or smothers, as we may say, the lesser attraction of each small thing for another. But though you and I might stand side by side upon earth and feel no mutual attraction, yet if we could mount up a few thousand of miles far away from earth and float in distant space, then we should find ourselves drawn together and unable to remain apart. Now precisely as an apple falling from a tree and a stone dropping from a cliff are dragged downward to the earth, just so our earth and all the planets are dragged downward towards the sun and towards each other. The law of the earth's attraction of all objects on its surface to itself was indistinctly suspected a very long time ago, but it was the great Newton who first discovered that this same law was to be found working among the members of the whole solar system. The sun attracts the earth, and the earth attracts the sun. But the enormous size of the sun compared with our earth, like a great 9-feet globe besides a tiny 1-inch ball, makes our power of attraction to be quite lost sight of in his, which is so much greater. We come now to another question. If the sun is pulling with such power at the earth and all her sister planets, why do they not fall down upon him? What is to prevent their rolling some day into one of those deep rents in his fiery envelope? Did you ever tie a ball to a string and swing it rapidly round and round your head? If you did, you must have noticed the steady outward pull of the ball. The heavier the ball, and the more rapid its whirl, the stronger the pull will be. Let the string slip, and the rush of the ball through the air up to the side of the room will make this yet more plain. Did you ever carry a glass of water quickly along, and then, on suddenly turning a corner, find that the water had not turned with you? It had gone on in its former direction, leaving the glass and spilling itself on the floor. The cause in both cases is the same. Here is another law of nature, so-called. Though we can neither explain nor understand why and how it is, so we see it to be one of the fixed rules of nature, working everywhere alike throughout the whole universe. The law, as we see it, seems to be this: everything which is at rest must remain at rest until set moving by some cause outside of or independent of itself, and everything which is once set moving must continue moving in a straight line until checked. According to this, a cannonball lying on the ground ought to remain there until it is set in motion, and once set in motion by being fired from a cannon, it ought to go on forever. Exactly so, if nothing stops it. But the earth's attraction draws the cannonball downward, and every time it strikes the ground it is partially checked. Also each particle of air that touches it helps to bring it to rest. If there were no earth and no air in the question, the cannonball might rush on in space for thousands of years. Why did the water get spilled? Because it necessarily continued moving in a straight line. Your sudden change of direction compelled the solid glass to make the same change, but the liquid water was free to go straight on in its former course, so it obeyed this law, did go on. Why did the ball pull hard at the string as you swung it round? Because at each instant it was striving to obey this same law, and to rush onward in a straight line. The pull of the string was every moment fighting against that inclination, and forcing the ball to move in a circle. Just such is the earth's movement in her yearly journey around the sun. The string holding in the ball pictures the sun's attraction holding in the earth. The pulling of the ball outward, in order to continue its course in a straight line, pictures the pulling of our earth each moment to break loose from the sun's attraction and to flee away into distant space. For the earth is not at rest. Each tick of the clock she has sped onward over more than 18 miles of her pathway through the sky. Every instant the sun is dragging, with all the great force of his attraction, to make her fall nearer to him. Every instant the earth is dragging, with all the great force of her rapid rush, to get away from him. These two pullings so far balance each other, or more strictly, so far combine together, that between the two she journeys steadily round and round in her nearly circular orbit. If the sun pulled a little harder, she would need to travel a little faster, or she would gradually go nearer to him. If the earth went faster, and the sun's attraction remained the same as it is now, she would gradually widen her distance. Indeed, it would only be needful for the earth to quicken her pace to about 25 miles a second, the sun's power to draw her being unchanged, and she would then wander away from him forever. Day by day we on our earth should travel farther and farther away, leaving behind us all light, all heat, all life, and finding ourselves slowly lost in darkness, cold, and death. For what should we do without the sun? All our light, all our warmth, come from him. Without the sun, life could not exist on the earth. Plants, herbage, trees would wither. The waters of rivers, lakes, oceans would turn into masses of ice. Animals and men would die. our earth would soon be one vast, cold, forsaken tomb of darkness and desolation. I have spoken before about the old world notion that our earth was a fixed plane, with the sun circling round her. When the truth dawned slowly upon some great minds, anxious only to know what really was the truth, others made a hard struggle for the older and pleasanter mode of thinking. It went with many sorely against the grain to give up all ideas of the earth being the chief place in the universe. Also there was something bewildering and dizzying in the notion that our solid world is never for one moment still. But truth won the victory at last. Men consented slowly to give up the past dream and to learn the new lesson put before them. We still talk of the sun rising and setting, and of the stars doing the same. This is, however, merely a common form of speech, which means just the opposite. For instead of the sun and stars moving, it is the earth which moves. The earth has two distinct movements. Indeed, I ought to say that she has three, but we will leave all thought of the third for the present. First, she turns round upon her axis once in every 24 hours. Secondly, she travels round the sun once in about every 365 days and a quarter. No wonder our ancestors were startled to learn that the world, which they had counted so immovable, was perpetually spinning like a humming top, and rushing through space like an arrow. You may gain some clear notion as to the daily rising and setting of our sun with the help of an orange. Pass a slender knitting needle through the orange from end to end, and hold it about a yard distant from a single candle in a room otherwise darkened. Let the needle or axis slant somewhat, and turn the orange slowly round and round upon it. The candle does not move, but as the orange turns, the candlelight falls in succession upon each portion of the yellow rind. Half of the orange is always in shade, and half is always in light, while at either side, if a small fly were standing there, he would be passing out of the shade into candlelight, or out of candlelight into shade. Each spot on our earth moves round in turn into half-light, full-light, half-light, and darkness, or in other words, has morning, dawn, midday, light, evening, twilight, and night. Each spot on our earth would undergo regularly these changes, every 24 hours throughout the year, were it not for another arrangement which so far affects this, that the north and south poles are, by turns, cut off from the light during many months together. Thus the sun is in the center of the solar system, turning slowly on his axis, and the earth and the planets travel around him, each spinning like a teetotum, so as to make the most of his bright warm rays. But for the spinning movement of the earth, our day and night, instead of being each a few hours long, would each last 6 months. You may notice that, as you turn the orange steadily round, the outside surface of the skin has to move much slowly in those parts close to the knitting needle than in those parts which bulge out farthest from it. Near the north and south poles, the surface of our earth travels slowly round a very small circle in the course of 24 hours. But at the equator, every piece of ground has to travel about 25,000 miles in the same time, so that it rushes along at the rate of more than 1,000 miles an hour. A man standing on the earth at the equator is being carried along at this great speed, not through the air, for the whole atmosphere partakes of the same rapid motion, but with the air, round and round the earth axis. Now about the movement of the earth, her yearly journey round the sun. While she moves, the sun, as seen from the earth, seems to change his place. First he is observed against the background of one group of stars, then against the second, then against the third. Not that the stars are visible in the daytime, when the sun is shining, but their places are well known in the heavens, and also they can be noted very soon after he sets, or before he rises, so that the constellations nearest to him may each day be easily found out. Of course, in old times, the sun was thought to be really taking this journey among the stars, and men talked of the sun path in the heavens. This path was named the ecliptic, and we use the word still, though we know well that the movements are not really his, but ours. As the earth's daily movement causes day and night, so the earth's yearly movement causes spring, summer, autumn, and winter. A few pages back I mentioned in passing one slight yet important fact which lies at the root of this matter about the seasons. The earth, journeying round the sun, travels with her axis slanting. Put your candle in the middle of the table, and stand at one end holding your orange. Now let the knitting needle with the orange upon it so slant that one end shall point straight over the candle towards the upper part of the wall at the farther end of the room. Call the upper end, so pointing, the north pole of your orange. You will see that the candlelight falls chiefly upon the upper half of the orange, and as you turn it slowly to picture day and night, you will find that the north pole has no night and the south pole has no day. That is summer in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern. Walk round next to one side of the table, towards the right hand, taking care to let the knitting needle point steadily still in exactly the same direction, not towards the same spot, for that would alter its direction as you move, but towards the same wall. Stop, and you will find the candle lighting up one half of your orange, from the north to the south poles. Turn it round slowly, never altering the slope of the axis, and you will see that every part of the orange comes by turn under the light. This is the autumnal equinox, when days and nights all over the world are equal in length. Walk on to the other end of the table, still letting the needle slope and point steadily as before. Now the candlelight will shine upon the lower or south pole, and the north pole will be entirely in the shade. This is summer in the southern hemisphere, and winter in the northern. Pass on to the fourth side of the table, and once more you will find it as the second side, equal light from north pole to south pole. This will be the spring equinox. It is an illustration that may be easily practiced, but everything depends upon keeping the slant of the needle or axis unchanged throughout. If it be allowed to point first to right and then to left, first towards the ceiling and then towards the wall, the attempt will prove a failure. End of section 3. Read by Caretaker Saxon, Anniston, December 5th, 2024.